What is something you were bullied for growing up that has now become a trend? My lunches when I was in kindergarten, my mom used to pack me some bento boxes: rice, seaweed, tea, egg, some meat and veggies, all my classmates, and sandwiches, so they made fun of my lunches that required a spoon and fork instead of handheld food. Now my coworkers pay over $10 for the same bento boxes my mom used to. Growing up, it wasn't too bad, aside from hearing Carrot Top or Red-Headed Stepchild. But around 8th grade, South Park came out with that episode about redheads. I was watching it with a friend and thought it was hilarious, but man, within a week my entire school jumped on calling me a ginger and that I had no soul and I must be a daywalker since my freckles weren't obvious. At first I just laughed along with everyone and rolled with it, but over the years I would hear the same shit, and being told you don't have a soul over and over again is demoralizing. Having natural hair, I'm a black female. Growing up, it was normal and encouraged to chemically alter her hair so it could be straight. We called them relaxers. So every 6 weeks I'd get my relaxer that burned my scalp and press. I finally had enough when I turned 18 and chopped all the relaxed hair after letting it grow a couple inches. Boy, was it an interesting couple months. The self-hate is real, and don't even get me started on white people reactions. Now many black women and girls are wearing their hair naturally and I'm so happy for it. No one should be ashamed of intrinsic characteristics or be made to feel that they aren't as pretty or attractive because of it. Can I just take a minute here to state that a literature review of these comments provides one primary result: peer pressure sucks and groups of kids can get awfully mean about anything if it's non-conforming. If you know a kid, or an adult, with a difference, chosen or not, that they feel hassled over, remind them that it's always been this way, that groups of people scared to be individuals will shame you for being what they aren't or doing what they won't, or for fun because they have nothing better to do with their unfulfilling time than belittle people they don't seek approval from, and that, despite this, it's always better to do what you want or be whatever it is you want to be anyway, because your own feelings matter. It's your damn life. And when you find some people mature enough to recognize that, you'll make friends worth having and have time well spent. The only thing I was bullied for was being myself, and whether that's a trend or not now, it's always preached as the thing we should aim for. This concludes my own preach today. You know that thing where teens are putting their blush on over their nose so it sort of looks like an anime cartoon blush? I used to do that when I was like 16, 17 and people made fun of me for it. I didn't do it as dark as it's popular now, it just looked sunburned. I also used to wear my hair in milkmaid braids a lot and people would bully me over it. Also, thick eyebrows. Not because I didn't want to pluck, I just didn't like the pain. Gray hair. I started going gray at 18, and started coloring at 23 to stop getting made fun of. Grew my hair out 3-ish years ago at 42, and then everyone started dyeing their hair that were gray-white shade. Then the grammar thing happened. I hate that word. I get so many reactions to my hair now, from compliments to snotty comments about how they don't understand why I would go to the effort to strip my hair to look like that, to disbelief that it's natural, it's curly as well, and then how brave I am for letting it grow out. It's a wild ride. Oh boy, so much. What you have to consider is that my city, despite being moderately sized, is somehow also stuck in the 90s in terms of how people view pop culture. Nobody seems to believe there are other people on the internet. The only reason we somehow have some vestige of comic book culture is because, and I personally know this for a fact, the councilman for culture is friends with the owner of one of the 2 only comic book stores in town. And back in high school there was one hilarious incident when I was mocked and literally told I was a fucking nerd because I made a joke about Game of Thrones, the show, which was by then on its 2nd season. Being Asian and skateboarding. I remember growing up wishing I was white in my predominantly white town. I used to get made fun of for my eyelids, how I looked, the foods I'd bring to school and everything along those lines. It seems like as correct representation has happened, it's minimized, but I'm sure there's still a lot of swept under the rug racism and bullying still going on. I noticed that people like to pick and choose what they like from Asian culture. They'll love anime but hate Asian people for whatever reason. They'll want Japanese letters because it looks cool but make Asian jokes regarding how they talk in broken English, or the same people who made fun of my eyes are the ones doing fox eye makeup to accentuate their eyes to be more slanted shaped. As for skateboarding, I used to skate a lot growing up because that was my way of transportation. I used to get called poor. I used to get bullied for wearing baggy clothes and having longish hair. I used to get picked on for not wearing tight Hollister stuff. Now at 20, I see everyone trying to dress the whole skater part thing. I see a lot of people swoon over skater dudes when even 3 years ago they really would have been seen as a social outcast. I'm glad people are getting into skating. I just wish I didn't get bullied for the shit I enjoyed doing and the shit out of my control. I know it's not exactly growing up getting bullied, but I am a huge Marvel fan and went batshit crazy over Infinity War. I even got my tickets 2 months in advance for a showing the night before its official release. There were a handful of us that followed the Marvel movies and talked about them, but the majority of my classes did not care about Infinity War at all and looked weird at me when I talked about it. Suddenly, about 3 weeks before the movie comes out, it suddenly starts getting more attention from non-Marvel fans, and now all those people start talking about it. I know there are thousands of Marvel fans and I'm not special in any way, but it was just my school in particular that didn't care about Marvel until after Infinity War. Being short lol. My entire childhood I was always called out for being the shortest person in any gathering. I was told by family that it was my fault for not eating enough or drinking enough milk, you know. Total BS. Then I start freshman year of uni age 18 and I have guys literally flocking me for being fine size and a shorty. Even now it's all about short girls, haha. My whole childhood was a lie because people would legit tell me I'd never get a guy because of my height, and now guys hit on me because of it. I started listening to podcasts right before they became trendy among the college crowd. I played This American Life in my car while driving some friends and they were like, "Why would you listen to a boring talk show?" A few weeks later, they had forgotten about that and were then telling me that I must listen to This American Life because they thought it was interesting. But really, probably because they realized everyone else was starting to listen to it too. Shit, I used to get this all the time too. I only wore them because they were cheap as a kid and all my mom could really afford, while everyone else was in expensive tracksuits or expensive polo shirts and jeans. Same thing with trainers. Converse used to be dirt cheap, not the crazy prices like they are now, but all my friends had Nike Airs or Reebok Pump, and they used to take the piss out of my bowling shoes. Another one I remember is my mom used to get a bit more life out of my jeans without me having holes in the knees by either unpicking the pockets off the back and sewing them on the knees or buying denim scraps to repair them. I've seen jeans that look exactly like the ones I wore growing up go for a couple of $100 now, and more, and yeah, even though I'm 40 odd now, my mom still fixes clothes for me when I visit, because she's a sweetie. Luckily she divorced my dad in the late 90s and got a very good job soon after, and she is more than okay for money, but whenever I visit she always says, "You're too old to be dressing like I used to dress you. Let me buy you a nice jumper and a shirt or something," and I always decline because I still almost exclusively wear plaid, cheap jeans and Converse unless it's something formal I have to attend. Being a nerd, I was raised on comics, Doctor Who, the classic stuff, and sci-fi in general, but I also grew up in a town where social status was defined by how many animals you could kill and gut in the shortest amount of time, how big the wheels, tires on your truck were, and by how many asses you can kick. Comic-Cons were non-existent and comic movies were few and far between, not to mention hit or miss in quality. Now there's a con nearly every month, pre-COVID. Comic stores in most major sites, so many movies and TV shows that even I'm getting sick of them. And, most of all, there is an actual community who loves this stuff and loves bonding over it. Why couldn't we have had this in the 90s? I wasn't bullied for it, but it's so fucking dumb it's worth mentioning because for some fucking reason eye bags have sorta become trendy on TikTok. I understood the trend when people were doing colorful makeup underneath their eyes. At least that shit looked cool, but I watched some kid the other day just put dye or something underneath their eyes so it looked like they hadn't slept in 15 years, longer than they'd been alive probably. Having thick hair when I was younger, shorter hairstyles were the general style for, at least for men. I have thick, relatively coarse hair that wasn't conducive to those styles. Now that styles have changed, and seemingly become more varied, it's not as big of a deal. But, the real change has come due to age. My friends are dealing with receding hairlines and, in some cases, plain old baldness. I'm not. I've got a full head of thick hair that, although graying, has become a source of envy that my friends comment on with increasing frequency. I'm Asian. A few years back in secondary school, I used to wear the white Adidas Superstar shoes. As a male, I was called gay and made fun of because of my shoes. I thought it looked cool and so did my mom, but I ended up coming home crying and resented my mom for buying that shoes. Now I live in the States and own an exact pair like that. Still think it looks cool, maybe not the trend but it's a story. Being very thin. 6 feet tall and 120 pounds. I was the kid at the beach who wore a long-sleeve shirt because my chest was basically concave. Oh, not to mention my big buck teeth. I couldn't even close my mouth cause I was kind of dealing with an overdeveloped upper jaw and an underdeveloped lower jaw. The same people who tormented me and made fun of me in high school didn't even recognize me at our high school reunion. Anyway, today, guys don't have to look like they're bloated and on steroids walking out of the gym. Bullied for years for being a bigger girl. Also was starved and beaten for it by my stepdad who thought being fat was a sin. I was born 12 pounds and have always been chubby. My nickname was Thunder Thighs as a kid, sometimes meant to be endearing, other times not so much. I eat pretty healthy and I'm active. Yet I'm always around 270 pounds. If I do lose weight, it's small amounts, but I have gained tons of muscle from weightlifting and just have had more mass on me. I know it's passed down because all my dad's side are bigger people. My great-grandfather is from Lithuania and all the photos of his family have always been super tall and big. I used to think about killing myself at a very young age because of my weight. Nothing helped me lose weight. Not even being starved for 6 months. My stepdad was upset I didn't lose any weight and would beat me and my mom thinking she snuck me food. She didn't. I just have always been fat. I have come to realize that there are so many worse things to be than fat. Fat is only a descriptive word, just like short or tall. It's not a bad thing to be, and some of us just are. Now I get complimented for having thick thighs, milky white big boobs, and a butt that can't work you into submission. Thick thighs save lives, buddy. I'm a male who looks young for his age. In my school years, people said I looked like a little boy and made gay implications about my soft and feminine facial features. In my adult years, I wouldn't call it trendy but people seem to accept my appearance instead of find it contemptible. The most remotely unflattering comment I've received, which isn't even that bad, is from a girl who said I would be pretty if I was a girl. My family was always the weird family. We had a giant garden and spent the summers harvesting and canning our produce. We didn't have much, and used hand-me-down clothes, etc. We were environmentally friendly. We didn't buy single-use products and we didn't watch TV or spend time with technology. I got made fun for all that, but now it's a lifestyle people strive for. Ahead of our time, I guess. Playing Dungeons and Dragons, there was a small group of us in high school that played. Needless to say, we were all mocked for it. A bunch of nerds, although only a couple of us were actually performing well in school. The others were just riding it out till graduation, of course. Living in the rural, Bible Belt South, we were also an object of fear. We must be devil worshippers because, as we all know, that's exactly what D&D is for. It has nothing to do with having fun and hanging out with your friends. We're all there just to meet Beelzebub or Diablo. Those are their names, right? I'm a shower, not a grower. Used to get made fun of in gym class because the athletic shorts and gray sweatpants didn't do me any favors. The girls used to walk around pulling their pants out like they had a boner and laugh at me. Then I get pushed around by the dudes who thought I was getting boners looking at their girlfriends. I'm like 6 hard on a good day, so it's not like I'm rocking anything special, but apparently gray sweatpants are super hot now on guys. Comic books. Like, I had a cool symbiote Spider-Man shirt, but I didn't dare wear it in school. Now there are cheerleaders wearing Thor shirts, and people on the street know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. Granted, none of the characters they know were in the Guardians that I grew up with, but they know the title. Anime, weeb shit. I know you have people that do kinda get a little wild, but when I was a kid I liked reading manga and watching anime and stuff cause I liked the art style. I did get picked on a lot because of it. As I grew up, it started gaining popularity and now it's a big thing. At first I was bitter about that kind of thing. Like these assholes used to bully me for shit like this, WTF. Now, I'm just glad people are having a good time finding what they like. I know there are some neckbeard white types, but all in all, I'd like to think those that enjoy anime are pretty decent. Being a nerd, programming computers, playing D&D, playing musical instruments and building stuff out of electronics and or mechanical components. My friends and I got picked on a lot for this in the late 80s and early 90s. It seemed to subside until the early 2000s. When a bunch of guys with beards and tattoos showed up and told us to get out of their space. We're doing nerd stuff, and you wouldn't understand it, they'd say. Being a girl in the 80s/90s who liked anything, comics, video games, anime, action movies, TMNT, Transformers, Pog, Magic, D&D, I was denied or limited access to most, if not all of these things, bullied for it, too, which is why I'm so encouraging of kids' interests these days. No one should be shamed for something they enjoy. The world is a lot better now, on that front. Kids are a lot kinder and a lot more open-minded. Being a girl in the 80s/90s who liked anything, comics, video games, anime, action movies, TMNT, Transformers, Pog, Magic, D&D, I was denied or limited access to most, if not all of these things, bullied for it, too, which is why I'm so encouraging of kids' interests these days. No one should be shamed for something they enjoy. The world is a lot better now, on that front. Kids are a lot kinder and a lot more open-minded. For eating weird food, I'm Indian. My mom used to make me biryani for my school lunches, and other kids would give me such shit for it. A common refrain was, "Why are you eating yellow food?" Now everyone's losing their damn minds over turmeric and acting like it's going to cure cancer, or some shit. I'm here like you bastards made fun of me for years for eating turmeric, now you're putting it in your lattes, SMH. I saw an episode of Scrubs recently where JD is checking out a woman and then he sees her perfectly proportional butt and goes, "You, Never mind. To my 2020s eyes, his reaction made absolutely no sense. Glad I didn't see a lot of TV or read a ton of magazines growing up in the 2000s. I remember looking in the mirror and thinking the new curve at the small of my back made me like a centaur when my hips started to grow. But I hadn't been taught that a big butt was gross, so I just kind of laughed at that thought and moved on.